Remember when muscle cars were iconic? Raquel Welch dazzled on the silver screen, and the hippie movement was in full swing? Relive these iconic moments and more in 10 Things You Remember if you grew up in the 1960s. American muscle cars emerged as a powerful symbol of automotive performance and style in the mid-1960s. Defined as American-made two-door sports coupes with powerful engines, these cars were initially designed for drag racing, but soon became popular performance-oriented street cars. The muscle car era was characterized by high performance at affordable prices, with manufacturers inserting powerful engines into basic trimmed, intermediate-sized cars. Iconic examples like the 1964 Pontiac GTO, 1965 Chevrolet Chevelle, and the 1968 Plymouth Roadrunner exemplified this trend. As the 1960s progressed, muscle cars began to include more luxury features and optional equipment, leading to the development of budget muscle cars like the 1967 Plymouth GTX and the 1968 Dodge Super B. This era witnessed a horsepower war among manufacturers, with some models boasting up to 450 horsepower by 1970. Raquel Welch, an iconic figure of the 1960s, first gained fame with her role in Fantastic Voyage 1966. Her contract with 20th Century Fox led to her starring in 1 Million Years BC in 1966, where despite having only 3 lines, her appearance in a doe-skinned bikini became legendary, turning her into an international sex symbol. Welch broke away from the traditional sex symbol mold by portraying strong female characters, contributing to the decline of Hollywood's blonde bombshell era. Her groundbreaking interracial love scene in 100 Rifles in 1969 added to her fame. In Bedazzled, 1967, she played Lust, showcasing her versatility, while her role as a freedom fighter in 100 Rifles further established her as a serious actress, resisting the pressure to perform nude scenes. Her most controversial role was in Myra Breckinridge, 1970, where she played a transsexual heroine, a role that signified her bold choices in film. G.I. Joe, a line of action figures produced by Hasbro, became an American icon among toys, especially popular in the 1960s. The idea for G.I. Joe originated in 1963 with Stanley Weston, a licensing agent from Manhattan. He envisioned a military action figure, which caught the interest of Donald Levine, a Hasbro executive. Levine predicted these figures would be highly successful, leading to their launch in 1964. These figures represented various branches of the U.S. Armed Forces. The term action figure was coined to market these toys to boys, avoiding the term doll, traditionally associated with girls. Notably, an African-American figure was added in 1965, although it used the same mold as the white figure. G.I. Joe's popularity led to its induction into the National Toy Hall of Fame in 2004 and the Pop Culture Hall of Fame in 2017. The hippie movement, emerging in the early 1960s in the U.S., was a youth movement influenced by various European social movements and the Beat Generation, with roots in bohemianism and Eastern spirituality. By 1967, it had spread globally, advocating for harmony with nature, communal living, artistic and sexual experimentation, and recreational substance use. The transition from beatnik to hippie became notable after the 1967 Human Be-In in San Francisco, where the crowd chanted Om and embraced colorful psychedelic clothing, contrasting the somber attire of the Beats. Hippies were known for their expressive individuality, often dressing in theatrical costumes for musical events. A pivotal moment was in the 1966 Love Pageant rally in San Francisco, protesting the criminalization of substance use and emphasizing its role in self-exploration and artistic expression. In the mid-1960s, the miniskirt emerged as a bold fashion statement that redefined women's clothing. Initially appearing just above the knee in 1961, by 1966, miniskirt hemlines had risen to the upper thigh. This daring trend, popularized in swinging London, was a departure from previously conservative skirt lengths, typically reserved for sports and dance attire. Designers like Mary Quant in London and André Courrèges in Paris were pivotal in bringing the miniskirt into mainstream fashion. These skirts were not tight but had a simple, slightly flared A-line shape, a stark contrast to the tight, curve-hugging skirts of the 1950s. Miniskirts were often paired with colored tights or knee-high socks, as traditional stockings with garters were impractical with such short lengths. In the UK, this trend also had a practical advantage, as skirts shorter than 24 inches were classified as children's garments and exempt from purchase tax, making them more affordable. If you were a kid in the 1960s, you surely remember the Beatles, the iconic band from Liverpool. They started out in the early 60s, quickly capturing hearts with their unique style and catchy tunes. They played in clubs in Liverpool and Hamburg before hitting big with their first hit, Love Me Do, in 1962. This led to the wild fan phenomenon known as Beatlemania. By 1964, the Beatles were international stars, and they even made a movie, A Hard Day's Night. They stopped performing live in 1966 to focus on making more complex records like Rubber Soul and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The Beatles were not just a band, they were a cultural force, influencing music, fashion, and even social attitudes. Today, they are remembered as one of the greatest and most influential bands in music history. The Twilight Zone, created by Rod Serling, was a groundbreaking American TV series from 1959 to 1964. This anthology series featured a mix of fantasy, science fiction, horror, and psychological thriller elements, often ending with a surprising twist and a moral lesson. It was known for addressing serious themes like nuclear war, McCarthyism, and mass hysteria, which were typically avoided in other primetime shows. Famous writers like Ray Bradbury contributed to the show. Despite its success, Serling found it hard to sell initially, as critics doubted the depth of science fiction. Serling's on-screen appearances became iconic, adding to the show's distinct style. If you grew up in the 1960s, you'll vividly remember the historic moon landing on July 20, 1969, when the Apollo 11 mission made its monumental touchdown. This event marked the first time humans set foot on the moon, with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin being the first two astronauts to do so. About 500 million people around the world watched this awe-inspiring moment on live television, making it the largest TV audience for a live broadcast at the time. The moon landing was a pivotal achievement in the space race, showcasing the technological prowess of America. Apollo 11 was just the beginning, as there were 6 crewed U.S. landings on the moon between 1969 and 1972. The United States remained the only country to have successfully conducted crewed missions to the moon, with the last mission departing in December 1972. In total, 12 men have landed on the moon, with Gene Cernan being the last to step off the lunar surface. The New York Yankees in the 60s were a baseball powerhouse that many people from that era remember. In 1960, they had a good season but lost in the World Series to the Pittsburgh Pirates. It was a surprise because they scored more runs than the Pirates, but still lost. The next year, in 1961, they had one of their best seasons ever. They won a lot of games and beat the Cincinnati Reds to win the World Series. Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris were two of their best players. Maris even broke a big record for home runs that year. They won the World Series again in 1962, but it was a tough fight against the San Francisco Giants. In 1963, they had a good season but lost in the World Series to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Finally, in 1964, they had another good season and made it to the World Series, but lost to the St. Louis Cardinals in a close contest. After that, the Yankees changed their manager. In the 1960s, color television was a big leap forward from the black and white TVs everyone was used to. Before color TV, shows were only in shades of gray. The idea of color TV actually started way back at the turn of the century, but it took a long time to make it work well. In 1953, the United States picked a color TV system called NTSC, which worked with the older black and white TVs also. This was a smart move because it meant people didn't have to throw out their old TVs to watch color shows. By the early 1970s, color televisions began outselling black and white units in North America. If you enjoyed this American Rewind video, go ahead and watch the next one. And remember to like and subscribe. It's the American way.